I'm not saying these things are good or bad, but I'm actually saying these things are bad.
Hard Rock Lunchbox.
Oh man, what is up everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Hard Rock Lunchbox. I don't know what's happening here. Hang on one second. I am track A, track B. I'm trying to record. Okay. This is information I needed to know. So I'm trying to record. Sorry, I'm all the way over here. I'm trying to record this, but it seems like if I press this button, so if I'm pressing that button, nothing is recording for some reason. But if I press this button, then it does record. Well, that's rude. That's rude. I'm trying to come up with a backup system for this. You may or may not have noticed, but last week there was no Hard Rock Lunchbox replay. Simply because it just didn't record. And I keep having so many problems, things just not working. And I guess because there's 52 Hard Rock Lunch boxes for the year, like statistically 1 in 50 or 2 in 50 or even 5 in 50 is really not all that bad. It's only like 10%. They're right. No, 5 in 50 is not 10%. Is it? No. I'm having such a tough time today. 5 in 50 would be 10 out of 100. Yeah, 10%. Yeah, all right. And this Math Minute has been brought to you by the Hard Rock Lunchbox. Yeah, I'm having a time. It's just getting more and more difficult to do this job. Or not even to do this job. The job hasn't changed. The job is super simple, but getting it to work properly is it's really causing me a whole lot of stress. And now I got to figure out. So I have a backup recording that's going on over there, and you're just going to have to trust me on that. But it requires me to turn off the thingy over here. You're going to have to trust me on that, too. So, yeah, here we are. Hard Rock Lunchbox, everybody. All right. I will address the 25th in a minute. But to be perfectly honest, the only reason I haven't made the announcement is because I just haven't made the announcement. I'm trying, in typical me fashion, I'm trying to do something kind of grand and do it that way. And then what's going to happen, and also recently typical me fashion, is I'm just going to run out of time, and then I'm going to do it not grand, and everyone's just going to be annoyed for a couple of weeks because I haven't said anything about it. So I was trying to put some things in place and write down my thoughts, but I realize even as I'm just saying those words, my ability to just write down my thoughts has been a key component to my getting stuff done and my general sanity over the past 2 decades, because that's how I seem to function the best. And the simple fact that I'm not able to do that any longer because I'm out of time on pretty much everything that I do, I don't get those things done, so I don't get that therapeutic value. You might think that 2 hours a week on the Hard Rock Lunchbox and weekly therapy sessions and all the other things I do would be enough, but they're not. They're really not. I have a lot of stuff that always seems to be happening, and I have a lot of thoughts to process and a lot of things to understand about things, and that's how I do things. I consider them. I know that sounds unusual these days, why I can just take to Twitter and just start talking about things that I think I'm right about. And despite all the times that I do hop up on a social media platform and discuss things, it's not my first move. Do you know what I mean? It's not something I don't start yelling it on Twitter. It's not my thing. But apologize for the yawn. Yeah, all right. Well, welcome to the Hard Rock Lunchbox. And, of course, welcome to the Top 20. There was, however, a Top 20 last week. I did manage to salvage that because the video is recording, because the video is actually right in front of me, so I can see when that's not working. The audio recording is a floor and a room away from me, so I don't normally see that, except for now, because I have a backup. I don't know why I keep checking it, it's just going to shut off, but it's that wouldn't be the first time that happened either. So, anyway. Elon does not own Twitter yet, and we're definitely going to talk about that. But yeah, let's just do some light housekeeping. So yes, there was definitely a top 20 on Stranger Hood TV this morning. There was actually a bonus top 20. I don't know if you guys got to see it. I know I did not. I actually posted the video of my discussion of Senator Mallory McMurray from yes, McMurray is actually my new hurricane. We have 2 new hurricanes, by the way, in case you're dying to have a hurricane update. Oh, by the way, the Hurricane won their second round of the Long Island Cup. They're heading into the third round, which is the semifinals for our bracket, so that's going to be kind of cool. That'll be in a couple of weeks. I'll try and keep you posted on more hurricane stuff, but we did pick up 2 new players, and that's pretty exciting and pretty cool. But yes, there was that top 20, so that's good. Check that out. It's the regular top 20, and then this whole sort of breakdown I did of the senator from Michigan's speech about hate and grooming and all that other stuff. I thought it was pretty interesting, so I decided it was worth putting out as a top 20 special report. So feel free to check that out. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think that stuff like that is worth doing. It basically, I broke it down. If you remember last week, I broke it down just like I would break down a song, like why things are important, why stuff matters, blah, blah, blah. So feel free to check that out while you're over on Stranger Hood TV. Feel free to check out Bacon is My Podcast. It is still the month of April, so they are doubling your bacon, whether you like that or not. They have full interviews with the bands Stud Count and Old Currents, or rather Jake from Old Currents. And now they have 2-7 questions, which I guess is 14 questions. They have Stacked Like Pancakes and Felicity Fueled. So check that out. They also have a new Tasting is My Bacon. Or Tastings My I don't even remember. But the tasting they did with Rivals, they went to go hang with Rivals in Brooklyn, Queens, somewhere, one of those places. And so they have a tasting with them. I think that's what that is. I have not checked it out yet, but please feel free to check it out. Revel 9 has some shows coming up. As mentioned in the chat, we're playing on June 25th. I may or may not get to that later today. We're again playing in July at some point, a couple shows in July. But I will get you more information as we get closer to that. So that's it for housekeeping. I did want to talk about some of the Elon Musk stuff, not necessarily Twitter, because I don't care so much. I actually don't give a shit, really, that he, if he's buying Twitter or bought Twitter or whatever. I am, and this is very typically me, I am fascinated by the people's reactions to this. And we'll get to that in a second. But just before I got here, that's here. I'm checking again. I don't have OCD, but I feel like I'm getting it just for this show. So I want to make sure that it's recording just in case. Yes, a couple of shows in July. Surprise. But they will not be affected at all by the events on June 25th, which are going to be a one-time only special night kind of thing. Anyway, so right before I got here, I got this little blurb. I'm on a couple of mailing lists. I'm not on a lot. I'm not on a lot, but I am on a couple that deliver decent news in a timely fashion, so that I can decide what I want to look into more. And so I did not get a chance to look into this more, but this is very interesting. So this just came in. Breaking news, Thursday, April 28th, 2022. 11:40 a.m. Eastern. It says Eastern Standard Time, but that's not it, right? We're in Eastern Daylight Time now. That's true. All right, cool. Breaking news: the FDA announced a plan to ban sales of menthol-flavored cigarettes, a measure many experts say could save hundreds of thousands of lives. The proposed ban is expected to have the deepest impact on black smokers, nearly 85% of whom use menthol cigarettes, compared with a rate of 29% among white smokers, according to a government survey. There is so much in there that I have to just try and wrap my head around. I have not smoked in years, but I smoked for a very long time. Like the dipshit that I am, I started smoking at about around 11 years old because I wanted to be cool like the older kids. I will tell you, that did not work. I did not become cooler because I smoked. I became cooler because I became cooler. In fact, if there was one major regret in my upbringing, it would definitely be the fact that I wish I had never smoked. It was so dumb, it was so stupid, and as much as I enjoyed it for a very long time, it was like of the dumb things that I've done, like, that's got to be, like, really, really high up there. And I guess if any good has come out of it at all, it's because, like, my kids don't smoke, and they're not going to smoke because I will make fun of them, like, mercilessly. And if you think I'm a dick on the box, man, whew, try having me as your dad. But yeah, so this is interesting to me because, again, I'm kind of out of the smoking loop. The closest I get to being in the loop on smoking is the fact that my drummer smokes, and, like, my clothes constantly smell like smoke, and I friggin' hate it. It is just so gross, and I don't like it at all. But it is what it is, and so technically I guess I do still smoke, so yay me. But I didn't realize that there was that much of a thing from menthol cigarettes. I didn't realize that was that big of a deal. Like, I know, because I smoked Marlboro Medium was my cigarette. My cancer stick of choice was the Marlboro Medium, right? But I really liked Parliaments, and I really liked Newports, and I would smoke those on occasion, and I didn't even realize till, like, kind of college that those were quote-unquote black people's cigarettes. Like, I didn't even know that. I was like, oh, cool, this one's minty flavored. And the Parliament was cool because it had that recessed filter. To date, I still don't know why that is. On occasion, I would dabble in Camel. I liked Camel cigarettes. I honestly think I was swayed completely by the advertising, because Joe Camel was just cool as F. He also looked like a big giant penis, and I thought that was funny, and I don't know that means that I was smoking a penis or wanted to smoke a penis, but that's neither here nor there, and it's in the past, and we don't need to dig that kind of stuff up here for the box. But I think what is striking me about this, and then I'll move on to Elon Musk. I think what is striking me about this is that they are banning menthol-flavored cigarettes, a measure many experts say could save hundreds of thousands of lives. And my first thought is, do you know what else could save hundreds of thousands of lives? I don't know who here within the sound of my voice, remembers things called Venn diagrams in school. It's usually a mathematical principle. For those of you at home, let me school you a little bit on Venn diagrams. If you were to take a circle, one circle, and since I'm on video, I can show you. So I have a circle. Actually, I could probably draw it. This is something we never do on the box. We never do this or do anything. I'm gonna draw. So if you took a circle and then took another circle, right? I'm gonna do A and B. So I'm gonna put this here. You can see that. You guys can't see that, trust me. But, like, if you wanted to do this, draw two circles that do not touch, that do not intersect. Label one A, label one B. Right? That's a Venn diagram for all intents and purposes. Right? So A could be all dogs, and B could be all cats. Right? So one other thing you can do with Venn diagrams is you can intersect them, and then you can have the intersection like this, A and B, right? And where A and B meet, those things are things that people have in common. So you could say that A is people that eat bacon, and B is people that eat eggs, and the middle, where they intersect, is people that eat bacon and eggs, right? That makes sense? You can also do one other thing. I think it's called something bankment? No, I forget. But it's where you have a circle like this right here, where you have a big circle A and a little circle B inside. And what that basically tells you is that A could be... I'm trying to think of a good example here without giving the whole thing away. So I'm not going to. So if A, if you look at it again, if A is people that smoke and B is people that smoke menthols, you can say that everybody in group B is also in group A, right? Because if you smoke menthols, you also smoke cigarettes, right? So here's what I'm thinking. If the argument here from the FDA is it's a measure that many experts could save hundreds of thousands of lives, that's basically trying to save everybody in group B, right? But if you just saved everybody in group A, you would also save everybody in Group B. So if you're going to ban something about smoking to keep a group safe, you could just ban smoking. This is not advanced math. Oh, and I see the chat is very upset. I'm sorry, chat. I did not mean to bore you with my stuff. I just didn't think of it better. I haven't thought it through yet. This is what I'm talking about. If I don't get a chance to think things through, then I have to do it here on your dime, and that's not cool. So, anyway, that's like my little Venn diagram about smoking. Thank you. You now have an 8th grade math. So here's what I wanted to talk about. And I don't even know that I have a point to make. It's just something I want to talk about. Besides the fact that I'm just looking worse and worse and worse. But we don't need to talk about that. All right. So, who knows what an oligarch is? Just raise your hand if you know what an oligarch is. Right? So, the term oligarchy... Okay, the term oligarchy is basically, as defined, it's government or governing by the few, as in the corporation is ruled by an oligarchy. Right? You've probably heard this a lot lately because of what's going on in Russia, and we've sanctioned their oligarchs. So the other definition of oligarchy, similar, is a government in which a small group exercises control, especially for corrupt and selfish purposes. Okay? Very similar in definition is something called a plutocracy. Plutocracy, right? And that is simply defined as government by the wealthy. So, you have oligarchs, you have an oligarchy, you have a plutocracy, and they're basically the same thing, except the plutocracy is more wealth-based. And the oligarchy is more power, which always ends up having wealth. It's more corruption-based. And what's important about those things is that we are demonizing those things basically, every time we talk about Russia since they invaded Crimea, was that 12 years ago, 20 years ago? I don't even know. We've been demonizing these things, these oligarchs, in Russia, because as we look at them, we see okay, this one dude, this one particular oligarch, whose name I'm not even going to bother to pronounce, he owns 20% of Gazprom, or Rusprov, I forget what it is. It's the Russian oil company. He owns 20% of it. And he's worth $300 billion the company's worth $300 billion. He's probably worth $100 billion. And the reason, and there's one that owns all the aluminum. There's one that owns all the banks and stuff like that. So these are the if you studied your history around the Industrial Revolution, we would be calling them tycoons, right? Titans of industry, the Rockefellers, the Carnegies. They were oligarchs. They were plutocrats. They were oligarchs because what they did is they just made relative billions off of their companies, which by itself is not that big of a deal and not that bad. But when it kind of comes to making it off raping the natural resources of your country, it starts to get a little badder, right? And that's generally why we focus on the Russian oligarchs, especially the aluminum, the oil, and stuff like that, right? Because the reality is, if somebody's making $100 billion off Russian oil, it's not his oil. Do you know what I mean? It's Russia's oil. It belongs to that country. That it technically belongs to the people. And I don't want to give a big socialism conversation here, but that was actually what happened in Venezuela when they kicked out the oil companies, because the oil companies were basically stealing the oil for pennies under the dollar that belonged to the Venezuelan people. Ooh, pizza does sound good. What would Venezuelan pizza taste like? Anyway. Point is, they kicked those people out because it wasn't fair, because it belongs to everybody. And that's something that I've kind of always believed, our oil in the United States, it's barely ours, right? It should be the world's, but I'm not going to go that far. But I don't see any reason why we can just sort of decide, and by we I mean other people decide okay, well, BP can have this oil, or Exxon can have that oil. And I understand that there's leasing and some of that money makes its way back into, but The reality is, like, ExxonMobil is making money off a resource that belongs technically to all of us. Yes, they're the ones going to get it, and they should be paid for that, but, like, that's a job. You know what I mean? Like, you should be paid for that job. It's not your oil. And that's kind of one of the problems that I have with, like, these natural resource oligarchs and stuff like that. But the main thing of it is that these oligarchs wield enormous power over society because they control things that are important to the society. That's a big deal. It's also why we're targeting them with sanctions, because that's how you hurt the 20 most important and wealthy people in Russia. And what I don't understand, as I said in the beginning, I don't really care about Elon Musk buying Twitter. I have been way more interested in everybody's reaction about things, mainly from the right, because the right just tends to be stupider. I'm sorry if you're right and you're listening, but, like, you do. Like, collectively, your side of the argument tends to be a lot dumber. And if we want to go back to the Venn diagrams, it's the more unintelligent people that are buying a lot of these arguments. Because what's funny is that so many on the right are like, yeah, Elon Musk, he's the champion of free speech and stuff like that. Like, people on the right hate Elon Musk because he does electric cars, and people on the right tend to think climate change, A, isn't even real. B, electric cars are, like, you know, a waste, and there's a certain point to... Even Adam Ruins Everything did an episode about how electric cars really aren't all that environmentally sound, but they are a little bit better than, you know, kind of gas-guzzling cars, and they have other things. But, like, those batteries, man, we're just raping African countries trying to get all those components. It's one of the reasons we're having such a problem right now. We had to get all those things through China that gets them through Africa, blah, blah, blah. And that's why we didn't have a lot of computer chips and all that other stuff, right? So, like, Teslas, like, as cool as they are not the end-all, be-all of the environmental movement, but the people on the right constantly slamming electric cars, constantly slamming, because climate change isn't actually a thing. But now all of a sudden they're like, he's going to save Twitter. I've got news for you. Elon Musk is just some dude, right? He's not a particularly gracious dude. He does some good stuff, as he should, as all humans should. Like, I think when he retasked his satellites for his internet satellites to the Ukraine to guarantee them access, I thought that was a really good thing. I really do. And I think that a lot of the other stuff he does is really, really bad. I had posted something about Tesla losing like $100 billion in value the other day just because he decided to buy Twitter. And the reason that is because the people that basically work at and for Tesla were like, where the hell is he going to get all this money from? Because this is the kind of guy that actually will go on Twitter and ask his Twitter followers, all 80 million of them, hey man, should I sell 10% of this company? Do you have any idea what that does to people that own stock in that company? That is a huge deal. And the simple fact that some dude can just up and make a stupid statement or a careless statement and affect other people's wealth should be a red flag for absolutely everybody. And the reason I bring up the whole oligarch thing is because people are championing this purchase or this buyout of Twitter as the, this big, we're going back to free speech. And as I said a couple weeks ago, like, Elon Musk actually has a track record of silencing whistleblowers. He sued one Tesla whistleblower basically into silence because they couldn't afford the legal bills anymore. Like, that's bananas. This dude also called, I think it was one of the rescuers. I remember this when it happened, but I'm fuzzy on the details. One of the remember, like, I think it was like a Thailand were they kids? They were kids, right? They were like trapped in like a cave, and people from all over the world were going to save them, and he like slandered somebody on Twitter saying that one of them was a pedophile. Like, and he wasn't. Like, that's, yeah, if you want to make an absolute free speech argument, like, yeah, you can say whatever you want. But I can also say that Elon Musk is a pedophile just as easily, with no proof whatsoever. That's not the free speech that's protected in this country. It's also not the free speech that everybody wants, right? Even Trump, like, for all of his bullshit, like, he used to sue these, like the New York Daily News and New York Post. He used to try and sue them all the time because they would say terrible things about his business practice. Ironically, we're finding out now that they were actually right about some of that stuff, and that he was falsifying information about how much money he was actually worth and all that. So we're finding out that that's actually true, and maybe that's why those lawsuits didn't go ahead. That's neither here nor there. The reason I bring all this up is because we've got basically one person that is rich enough, the richest man on earth, all $243 billion of them, rich enough to buy what is considered to be the town hall of social media. The town hall for all of us. Are you comfortable with that? Like, at least there was a board, and you could agree or disagree with what the board decided to do at Twitter, and a lot of people are like, they're very left-leaning because that's why they were blocking all these right people, and they weren't. They had stated stuff. I've been blocked by Facebook. I've never been blocked by Twitter. I've been blocked by Facebook. A couple of times I understood why, a couple of times I didn't, but at least there's a policy. The simple fact is we have one person in charge of Twitter that could just be like, you know what? I don't want DJ to have access to Twitter anymore. I don't think he cares. I really don't. But if he does, Elon, if you're listening, that'd be a real dick thing to do. But that doesn't seem to bother anybody on the right. Like, one person. Like, people are all about, like, less government and less control. But, like, we're talking about the American oligarchs now. Bill Gates from Microsoft, for sure. Jeff Bezos from Amazon. The Walton family, Sam Walton's family that own Walmart. Like... and Elon Musk that now owns Twitter and owns the main electric car company, owns the main other space company. Like, this doesn't worry anybody. This only worries me that just one person, because he has so much wealth, because of so many tax loopholes, can just buy up the town hall. Like, if he wants to bring back free speech to the media, maybe he should buy Fox News. Like, Fox News or OAN. Like, man, those things are rampantly bad. Or buy CNN. Like, CNN's got kind of a shit reputation lately, but they're not nearly as bad as OAN. But if you want to bring back, like, honest to God, free discourse in this country, buy Fox News. Buy America's Newsroom. Let's see what happens. Let's see how much the people on the right think that'll be a good idea. I'm not saying these things are good or bad, but I'm actually saying these things are bad. So I take that back. Like, it's absolutely bad. It's absolutely bad that we have one person with so much power and so much control. We have Mark Zuckerberg running Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. I mean, he's facing monopoly things in all of the rest of the world. And now we have Elon Musk that's going to own Twitter. So what do you think he's going to do? He's going to use Twitter to make Tesla and SpaceX more valuable? I would. I guarantee he will, too. Like, honestly, if Elon Musk wanted to do something good for humanity with Twitter, he would buy it, and then he would buy Facebook, and then he would delete them both, and we can go back to our world and just play Wordle like everybody else. But that's just my 2.5 cents. It's been a really long day. I'm also really far into the top 20, so I apologize for that. Here's some music. I'll see you on the other side.